Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. So today we have Ben Sherman's second play 60-person event, Inspector Border Masterpiece. I'm pretty excited about this. The option to play Inspector Border rather than Amano Awato is very cool to see. So we'll start off with the deck list. Take a brief discussion about the matches that he played, and then Ben can't come on for an interview, unfortunately, but I've asked him a bunch of questions on Messenger so I can read out his responses from that. So let's get into the deck. Triple Inspector Border, double Masterpiece, double Majesties, one Ignis, triple Diagram, triple Disciples, a triple Heritage, triple Terraforming, triple Demise, a triple Duality, triple Desires, and the one Upstart, obviously, then a triple Apocalypse, one Return, triple Erupt, one Judgment, one Order, and one Skill Drain. So all the power cards in there. The side deck he mentioned was, pretty much just rushed together, so he didn't put too much thought into this, but it's double Amano Awato, double Ash Blossom, one Raigeki, double Cyclone, one D-Barrier, double Matched, double Anti-Spell, and triple Iron Wall. So let's get his comments on the rounds that he played. So round 1 he beat Dino 2-0. Round 2 he played against True Draco Mirror, and he won 2-1. Round 3 he played against Light Swan, I believe this was JY, and he lost 0-2. Round 4 he played against Pendulum. Apparently this was the only die roll he won on the day, which is pretty unfortunate. But he managed to win 2-1 eventually, and bricked horribly in game 1, so that must have been rough. Round 5 he played against Gemini FTK. His opponent managed to open the FTK in games 1 and 3, which you would assume is an auto-win. But Ben managed to egg on his opponent during game 3, leading him to misplay and putting him on 1,000 life points instead of ending the game. So yeah, take note. If you're playing against Gemini FTK, if you can convince them that they're going to do really well and they can do it faster than the average person, then you can probably make them screw up. So following that, he managed to just win out, basically, from round 5. Round 6, he played against ABC, and he won that round 2-1. An interesting thing to note, this main deck is actually what he took to YCS Bochum. He finished 9-2, which put him in 39th place, so he just missed the top cut, which is really unfortunate. But a great job done with that, and especially, the regional this weekend as well, managing to get that top place. So, as I said before, we can't get him on for an interview, but I did ask him a few questions about the deck, and we've got responses from him. So firstly, I asked him why he chose to play Inspector Border rather than Amano Awato in the main. He said he chose to main Border as going first it not only stops hand traps, but also causes problems on the opponent's turn, and gives them a massive hurdle to get past, especially if it's accompanied by a Floodgate, of which you play quite a lot of stuff, so that really helps out. His main focus was because this was a regional. He figured there's a higher chance of him seeing less powerful decks, and Border can be really problematic for the lower, the not quite tier 1 decks, and he, as we saw before, he only played against the one Pendulum Magician, and Border really makes it difficult for decks which aren't that, because if your deck can't put up a variety of different extra deck type monsters, then it's going to really struggle against it. Then I wanted to ask him about how he felt about having Judgment in the main deck, because it's not a Floodgate, so because it's not continuously contributed for anything, but it's such a powerful card, so I wanted to know how he felt about it. He said, because the card is so good, if you draw into it, there's a very small chance of you losing that game, assuming you play it correctly. Anti-Spell is also very good. So this is another thing that we saw a lot of people playing in the main deck, and he's decided to put it in the side, and played triple Erupt, which sometimes gets cut down. Personally, I think, if you're going to play Skill Drain, then you want to play triple Erupt, max out on the four basically Skill Drain cards. So he said that Anti-Spell is very good, but with the Monarch's Erupt being an auto-win against a lot of decks, unless they have non-searchable answers in hand to deal with it, then you want to max out on the amount of cards so that you can draw into it more readily. I then want to check about Iron Wall. So this is pretty important for a lot of the matchups that the deck can face, and it hits a surprising amount of decks that we see at tournaments at the moment. He said it was fairly effective against certain strategies when he saw it, and it was mainly sided with the intent to side it in going game 3, because evenly matched can make the game really awkward. he would keep it in the side for future events. So yeah, definitely being able to flip that when your opponent goes to evenly you or something can be really crucial. Then I asked him if there were any issues with the deck and changes that he'd make, or ways that he would prepare for those issues. The only problem that he really found is if the opponent makes Dweller, it can make going second really problematic, because almost all of your removal cards activate in the grave. So if you're going second, your opponent is likely to have a board alongside this Dweller, so suddenly you're not able to out it, and that can be a great challenge for you to have to overcome. After siding, the main issue tends to be evenly matched. So if you play Demise, then you're having to commit a lot of cards from your hand onto the table. And once you do that, evenly just can end the game for you unless you have some way to get past it. So having Iron Wall, having Judgment, these are really crucial for that sort of possibility. Then I want to check about desires. So because the monster count is so small with this sort of deck, sometimes you can it can be a bit of a concern banishing stuff with desires. However, in the case of True Draco, it's very much the situation that you don't need very many monsters to carry on playing. It's not like a combo-based deck where if you lose all of one monster, suddenly you've lost the game. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So Ben said that Desires is an insanely good card, and in a deck where you max out on all of the good draw cards and every Draco spell or trap, banishing one copy of each is fine, and banishing 2 copies of any except Disciples doesn't really change anything. Banishing draw cards or Terraforming makes absolutely no difference to the deck. If he did banish 2 Masterpiece off it, then... one time he did banish 2 Masterpiece off it, and then he got even lead for all of the tribute summon monsters in the deck, apart from 1, but as long as you have 1, you're still absolutely fine. For changes that he would make to the deck, he's considering maining Amano, as if you go first game 1, you should win anyway, and Amano is much better going second. He did tend to lose die rolls, as we saw earlier, so yeah, having the Amano would definitely help out in those cases. Also, there is a cool way to use Amano that he notes, because if you summon Amano and have an Erupt or a Skill Drain life, then it won't return during the end phase. So what you can do is have a live Skill Drain or Erupt, put your Amano on the table, then during your opponent's turn you can tribute your trap to summon out one of your Draco monsters, and that way the Amano is then live, so your opponent's monster effects can't activate, not just the on-field ones, but all of them. And then during the end phase, you'll get your Amano back into your hand again. So basically, your opponent can only do stuff after the Amano returns to your hand at that point, which is really quite an impressive thing to be able to do. I then wanted to check if he would play this deck again, because there's such a variety of options out at the moment. He said he would choose to play this deck again because he believes it has the strongest matchup versus every deck overall. And if you go first, then you have a high chance of winning that game. If you go second, and you don't get locked out by something like Dweller or Droll, then it's pretty easy to put the game into an advantageous state for you. For shoutouts, he wants to shout out to Brad Wood for giving him the main deck list. He made 1 or 2 changes to the main deck, and that was about it. Also shoutouts to Alex7, who drove him to the event and back. And to Acme Games for running a pretty smooth event, despite some drama happening. Apparently, a guy got hooked in the face for popping something with Masterpiece, so that's a bit rough. Lastly, a shout out to Fanboy3 for providing Ben with great locals to play at, and great support to all of its players. So thanks very much for coming on, Ben. It's been great to see a deck list. I'm loving the fact that, there's an Inspector Order version of Masterpiece out now. Obviously, you did mention that, perhaps you would switch this out for Amano and focus more on that card in the future. There's also something oddly satisfying about every True Draco list you see, just because of the amount of 3Ls in the deck. And the deck is well built when suddenly you're seeing maximized numbers of all of the cards that you actually care about. So, very, very good to see. Thanks for watching this video, and thanks for coming on, Ben, and congratulations with your 2nd place, and good luck to you in future events. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.